marketing for Prime Data Centers. And today we're excited to introduce a new video series on the Denmark data center market. It is my pleasure to welcome Henrik Hansen, CEO of the Danish data center industry. We also have with us Trine Soby and Carsten Thyssen of Saby Varmaværk. They're actually dialing in from the plant today. And we also have with us Michael Wall, who's our Senior Vice President of Design and Construction for Europe here at Prime Data Centers. So today we are going to discuss a variety of different topics as it pertains to the Danish data center market. So why don't we go ahead and kick things off, Henrik, with you. What trends are you seeing in the market in terms of supply and demand?
Thank you for the invitation, Mark. From our perspective, we're looking into very interesting times. I think if we look back, 2022 was a bit challenging with the energy crisis. We had some cancellations and we had some postponements in the Danish market, but we can see here in 23 that it's picking up again. And we can also see that the Danish competitive situation with the development around the globe in terms of energy crisis, regulations, sustainability demands, that Denmark stands in a very strong position when it comes to data center investments. We are looking into hyperscale activity that has picked up again. Hyperscalers themselves are present in Denmark at a very large scale already, and they are expanding their activities. Microsoft is building a sort of a Zealand campus with 3 data centers close to each other outside Copenhagen, and we also see from other players, Apple, Google, that they are expanding right now. And then we can see in the co-location segment that we both see expansions within the existing players in the market, and we also see new players coming into Denmark. So we see a lot of activity going on in our annual market report that we publish every year in around March. We project growth from about 258 megawatt capacity at the end of 22 up to around 560 megawatt capacity at the end of 2026. So it's a rather high expectations to the growth over the coming years.
And what can you tell us about the DKIX announcement that we just saw the other day, and what effect will that have?
You could say over time we have had some discussions around connectivity and latency, and sometimes that has been the prime argument why you should be at the FLAP-D, the Frankfurt, Paris, London, Dublin, Amsterdam cities, because of the latency. But with the infrastructure investments that has been done both in existing infrastructure, but also new cabling, new subsea cables to the US, and then finally, this year's announcement from DKIX that they are going to build their internet exchange platform here in Denmark as well. That's another push on the connectivity. So it really increases again the competitiveness of the Danish and the Nordic market, and sort of diminish the factor around latency. So latency is no longer the same kind of issue that it had previously. So we see it as a good contribution also to the collective data center market in Denmark.
That's exciting. Michael, from a prime perspective, seeing out there in the market.
Yeah, so I mean, Denmark has always been proactive in promoting data center construction. You know, a lot of the self-builds, the hyperscalers have built in that market very, very heavily. We're now seeing a shift for the developers. You know, that this is our opportunity. It's a great country to work in. You know, I've had the ability to work in Denmark for 4 years. I mean, I really enjoyed my time there. But from a business perspective, you know, we have seen a shift, as Henrik has said, from the flat markets, because the struggles around power, to the Nordics and Denmark, where there's availability of green power, there's commitment from the government as well with regards to that availability of green power, and it's accessible, and that's why we as Prime feel it's a great market to be working in.
Excellent. It's a great segue on the green power to topic number 2. So let's talk about regulations, right? So one of the things that Europe is kind of famous for is regulations around sustainability. And we widely accept that that Denmark is the most sustainable country in the world. It's been reported by multiple agencies and organizations. So in the data center industry, obviously that can have a material impact on how we go to market and how we deliver capacity, site selection, and things of that nature. So Trine and Carsten, what are you seeing out there in terms of EU regulations on sustainability, and what are your thoughts on that matter?
We are looking into that the EU actually demands in the near future. We expect that the medium 25, that they demand that the data centers with a production over 1 megawatt are supposed to deliver the surface heat. We are not allowed just to lose it. So picking up all this surface heat will be something we will look into. So I think that the market should prepare even further demands, because we can't afford, also according to what Henrik was talking about, the energy crisis, we can't just let the heat slip off.
Yeah, that's, as Trine said, there will be a demand from the EU side that the data centers in Europe has to somehow reuse the heat from the servers, if it's possible.
And I actually noticed for a few days ago when I was reading about this topic that political people in the EU are actually looking into even further demands. So this is something that's very hot in the political world. We will like to be even more green. So I just think we have to expect that coming.
See, one way of using it is using it for heat, and district heating systems are ideal for reusing surface heat, data centers, or other industries.
I love that. Yeah, and we'll get to that in a second, for sure, as a specific drill down. Thank you, Henrik. What are you seeing out there? I mean, maybe can you talk a little bit about that 1 megawatt regulation? I believe that's the EED. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I mean, the Energy Efficiency Directive, the EED, is underway and will be active next year. As it looks now, it's been passed through the various political levels at the EU, so it will be active next year. And it will pose some extra requirements, reporting requirements on the data center industry in general. And of course, you can always look at that as a challenge or as a burden. It will be a burden because it's administrative. You will have some extra things you have to do as a data center, but you can also see it as an opportunity. And I think many of the demands that will be included in the EED will be something that we have good conditions to actually achieve. So I think we should be at the forefront on this. We should be engaging in discussions with the EU now and in the next year to actually try to be positive about these requirements, because I think we, as an industry, we need to accept the position that we have. We use a lot of power. We can't avoid that. Of course, we do it because we need to handle a lot of data that we are all dependent on. But still, we need really to do everything we can to reduce and minimize our footprint. And sometimes we can do it driven by market requirements, the customer requirements, because they're also imposed by sustainability requirements, but also sometimes helps that there are some kind of regulatory pressure. And I think we have really a good competitive situation with implementing these upcoming rules and demands.
great input. Michael, I'm going to transition to you as well. So from a Prime perspective, what the opportunity of, the concept of energy reuse, and why it, there's an opportunity there to take this regulation and do something good with it.
Yeah, Prime is actively focusing on how best we can use that waste energy. The European directive is strong. It's a step in the right direction. I think everybody agrees here. We've got to do more. We're going to see the increased power, which we'll probably talk about later. But with that in mind, I think not only the European, but we're seeing local governments as well really pushing harder requirements, which is, we think is great, that there needs to be more capital put into it. But, I've always believed that energy shouldn't go to waste. And, 1 megawatt of any data center, I think we should be doing a lot more. And our CEO believes that as well. So he's giving us the direction to push forward. What I would like to see as well is how we report. So as an industry, that we're all on the same page reporting. So, PUEs, because there is a discussion where does the heat pump sit? Does it sit on the infrastructure side, or does it sit on the data center side? Do we count that in? The cooling of the cooled water, that production, is that included or is not included? So I think we should work out a way as an industry of how we can report our PUEs, our KPIs, and get that information as a collective, and then work together on how then we can start bettering our performances.
That's great, Bill. It's a good segue to talk about district heating. Carsten, you mentioned it earlier, right? I mean, right now, Denmark is an excellent example of how to accomplish successfully this concept of reuse with district heating at scale. Michael, let's just level set with the audience just to make sure that everyone is on the same page. Can you kind of bring everyone up to speed with what is district heating and why is it important, why it's getting so much buzz in the market right now?
So district heating is a centralized heating network or heat production that works on a network that feeds the community. So it could be houses, it could be businesses, etc. Like you said, I mean, it's more commonly known in the northern part of Europe. So anybody who's on the call who's from the northern part of Europe is, I apologize for sounding very simple on this, but for the likes of the southern part of Europe that have more sun, they're not used to this type of system. So the network, the communities, have the networks in place. So from a data center point of view, it's very good that you can attach yourself to that network. That plant where the manufacture or the production goes on the heating, trying to be as close to that as possible. So that's where we're concentrating our focus on the SABE project.
Why is it such a good fit with data centers?
Because we can use they produce in this example with SABE, they produce cooled water for us, so we can use that for our cooling our racks, and then we return the heat back down those on a circle back to the district heating. What we do is we provide a lower grade of heat, so they do have to push the temperatures up, but their production of that heat is a lot less because of what we're producing back.
And so how much power are we talking with Prime in Denmark that is available for reuse in like a district heating environment like this?
Well, the particular project that we're talking about, we could return 100 megawatts. Now, it's probably far in excess of what SABE needs, but we have worked with Carsten and Trini to discuss on how once the project's up and running, how we can amplify that pipe network and connect to the surrounding district heating supplies as well.
Awesome, thank you. So Carsten and Trina, I'm excited for your thoughts on this. Talk about how the adoption is in Denmark with district heating, and talk about your own use case there in Sæby and why it's been so successful, please.
You can say that in Denmark, 65% is heated by district heating, so it's quite normal and well known. In our specific town, we are covered with more than 90%. And what is also very important to be aware is that none of the district heating plant is organized in the same way. We are very different organized in Denmark. There is a huge company and a middle-sized company and some very small, which is more like free time driven. But still, in our city, Sæby, our customer is also our owners, which make us a little specialized, if you can say it that way, and also a challenge because we are also forced to produce cheapest because we have a law according to producing the district heating. So.
So then very important to mention also that it's a non-profit by law. Actually, when you supply heat to each customer, it is non-profit. Whatever we have of surplus money, we have to pay them back to the customer each year, and the government are checking us. Another thing that has happened on top of this energy crisis we have the last couple of years is that district heating has become very popular now. It has always been popular, but we had a lot of customers that are now on natural gas. They want to change to district heating. We see customers on individual heat. They want to change to district heating. And one of the reasons is, and that is very important for the data center industry, that district heating, because we use hot water, circulate hot water, we can more or less adopt all kinds of energy types. If it's from a data center, if it is solar power, everything, we can always produce hot water. And taking heat from data centers and using other ways of producing that heat, we have several levers we can use. Today we produce this way, tomorrow we produce another way. That means that we always have a okay price, even during an energy crisis.
Yeah, and we secure comfort and security, and people are expecting that their house is going to be heated because this is how it actually functions. We don't have a breakdown. It's very stable and very secure. So, and the operation of the is also very central. It's at the plant, so people in the household are not supposed to, not unless there's something with the pipes inside the house who's going to be checked, but otherwise it's handled central.
The house installation is more or less maintenance for the next 20, 30 years. You should expect that.
Appreciate the education on that. I mean, it's an exciting concept, right? To think about 100 megawatts not going to waste, right? Almost a pass-through where 100 megawatts are delivered to the data center, and then that benefits the local community. I'm assuming the heating costs go down with the pass-through there. And to your point, I mean, with high utilization at the data center level, you're getting
and again, according to how the data center is going to grow, we can be connected to our neighbors, so we can develop the receiving of the surface heat.
Fantastic. So let's talk about power. I mean, in our world, right, power is the big thing, right? Across the world, it does not matter what market you are in, you're interested in the state of power. And so I feel like Denmark has a very unique power story to tell. And let's get into kind of the state of power as it pertains to the Danish data center market. So Henrik, I'm going to start with you. How are the power projects moving along, stabilization of energy costs, things like that? What trends are you seeing out there?
There's a lot going on in this area, and you could say maybe that Denmark is beginning to develop into some kind of European powerhouse in terms of producing a lot more renewable power than we can use ourselves. So we're going to be exporting power, and we're also building connections to other North European countries in order to provide this power, this green power to our neighbors as well. We have a lot of projects going on. We have what you call energy islands being planned within the next 10 years. We will see more than 9 gigawatt established offshore. At the same time, you see an abundance of projects with solar, wind on land as well, shore. So we will have an abundance of power, but we also need a lot of power. The good thing about having data centers close to where the power production is done is that you can actually use the electricity directly. You don't have to change it into some kind of other energy source, like Power-to-X projects that are always also taking place in Denmark and elsewhere. But with data centers, you can have the renewable power and put it directly into the data center. So that's one thing. The other thing around power is the grid. There needs to be heavy investments in the Danish power infrastructure, making sure that the green power gets out where it's needed at data centers and other energy consumers. But there's also some challenges in terms of when you have your entire supply based on wind and solar, which will be the case in a few years. You need to have some kind of balance or backup. And that's also a role of data centers, that we can be sort of a balancing partner, because we can help sort of storing some of the power and giving it back as part of the backup that we already have at the data center. So this is an opportunity. For now, it's an opportunity with the Danish TSO Energinet in the eastern part of Denmark, but perhaps in the future it will be possible throughout the country. That's also it's a business opportunity, but it's also helping the green transition for other sectors. So that's also, I think, an important part for data centers to actually engage in partnerships with other sectors. And this is a great opportunity for that.
Excellent. Trine and Carsten, what are you guys seeing out there in the market as far as the power story is and clean, sustainable energy sources?
Yeah, the same as Henrik actually, but this enormous amount of demand of data we are looking into in the industries, the AI explosion, and therefore a lot of needs of data centers also, which means how can we connect that to district heating system, which is not there. So this gap between a lot of building up or renovating the data centers is also, I think, a challenge. How can we upgrade the existing data centers?
But on the power side also, we see that, especially on the district heating, that a lot of new production units are electrical powered now, because we look into this area where we have a lot of green power from solar panels and wind turbines. We also expand our connections toward other countries. We have to go to England. We are going to the Netherlands. So we also can stabilize the net in Denmark. And also when there's a surplus production, you can export it to the other countries even more than we do now. And the other way around, if the wind is not blowing and the sun is not shining, you can import some power from the other countries. So we are trying by connections also to stabilize it with the level where we already are now.
But I think it's very important that
Very high level we are now.
but also this that we really catch all this surface which is and we're using it. I think that's a very it's a opportunity also, but also a challenge. So how to do that, we have to look into for the next 5-10 years, I think. But I have also noticed that we have in the business they're talking about, are we expected to have access to all data right away? The need to have what is nice to have. So, and also the demand of green data center, are they going to be sustainable when they are built, and what about their own consumption? So I think we look into a lot of interesting challenges in the future.
Awesome. Thank you. So we'll transition to our final topic with 5 minutes left. We're just we're going to do a little rapid fire as a look forward on the Danish data center market. So Henrik, I'm going to start with you. Give me one challenge that you see the market having to overcome in the short term, and give me one thing that's getting you really excited, one area of opportunity for the Danish data center market, please.
I think one big challenge, which is also an opportunity, but it is the coupling to other sectors. I mean, the integration of data centers into the energy system, for example. That is, I think, an enormous opportunity, but it's complicated. It is different kinds of players in those markets. It can be public, it can be private, it can be a combination. It can be international operators or national organizations. So it's rather complex, but it's a challenge that we need to solve. And it's also what fills me with excitement that we are actually launching this fall sort of a cross-industry initiative called Net Zero Innovation Hub, where we want to engage in discussions and projects with partners both inside and outside the data center industry to find new solutions and also solve some of the challenges or issues that we have at the moment. So that could be within district heating, it could be within grid balancing, but it could also be other areas. So that's what really excites me and makes me interested in what's going on in the next few years.
I'm excited about that too. When you told me about that, my full attention. So we're excited to see that come to pass. Carsten, Trine, same question for you.
Yeah, we look into being connected to a data center. That's what we are looking into, and to find a constructive model of how are we going to do that with the energy pipe systems being connected and also the economic part. So how do we find a model that we can look into both partners, because the data center has one purpose with their industry and we have another as a district heating, and we think it's very, very important still being very aware and clear about our specific rules in the project. So I think the model, how to do it, how can others be inspired by how we are going to do it, because as I have said, if it can't be a success in Sæby, it shouldn't be anywhere. And I have noticed that they have built data centers and combined them with the district heating. I think the big success will be up here.
I think one of the things that is really needed is that we manage to land where we have a hyperscale or big data center connected to a district heating system. As we have a model, we can show this actually works. Yeah. And that takes some guts from Sæby Heat Plant or another plant, and it takes some guts from the data center industry. Everybody has to put into that first connection. When you are in the front, you always you lose some, you win some,
but we believe
we win. One thing, the other thing we have to take care and look into, of course, is that there will not be too many political restrictions regarding how we use that surplus heat from the data center, waste heat.
Excellent.
That's always when you're in Scandinavia. That was always be something from the political side.
Can I just add one thing, Mark? Because I know Savory project, it's really exciting, and I look forward to seeing it being implemented. It has a lot of exciting aspects, but with regard to district heating, we do have some projects in Denmark.
We do.
Just to clarify that it's not like that we haven't done it before. We do have a rather big operation with Meta in Odense, where they use a...
Absolutely, and that's also why I said when it can be done other places in Denmark.
Yeah.
Going to be an
Okay.
So you were right, Henrik.
Michael, right? Because I believe, Michael, you were the one responsible for building
I
in the world, if I'm not mistaken, brother.
Yeah, and I hope it's still working. No, it is still working. No, but yeah, I mean that was a great project. I mean that was at 20 odd megawatts. You know, so it was. I was very proud to be part of that project, and like I say, I think it's just the way forward, at least in the northern part of Europe. You know, that we build these networks to make sure that we do use that heat. So I segue into my two. Are you happy about that? I mean, yeah, I mean, I could do a whole list on both. I think, look, the Danish data center industry has done a very good report. So if anybody gets the opportunity to download that, take that, read it, because I think that it highlights a lot of the challenges. From our point of view, look, we're seeing our customers really ramping up their power per rack, right? So the kilowatts are, probably like a casino, one of these fruit machines rolling around. We're seeing that growing and growing. So our challenge is to make sure how we funnel that heat as best as we can and get it back into the community. But for me, it's a good challenge, right? There's some technical problems that we need to look at as we go through, but look, that's the way forward. So we're going to be taking up a footprint, but more power. I think in Europe, it's been calculated by 2030. The data industry in Europe will be responsible for 3.2% of the consumption, right? So it's very important that we get it right, and we get it, we get it right now, because we're just going to see this growth. That was the challenge. I think the opportunities. I think there's lots of opportunities. Technology. We're now crossing over on industries. So we're working a lot with some engineering companies that have been working in other industries, other fields, and we're discussing on how we can produce electricity, store electricity, work with waste heat. So for me, I think that's the best opportunities. It is working with the other industries that have done, pharmaceutical, petroleum, and that growth or that exchange of knowledge, I think is going to be so beneficial for us. And look, the opportunity in Denmark, I think they set their plans out a long time ago with regards to renewable energy, with regards to the networks, with regards to the ability to do business, international business. So really, they've set the foundation for a success story around our industry. So I think I'm looking forward to coming back to Denmark and working there, and working with the lovely people of Denmark.
Fantastic. All right, well, that wraps it up. Thank you for an extra 4 minutes and 45 seconds, everybody. We encourage you to subscribe to this series. We're going to do this on a recurring basis to keep you informed of everything that's going on in Denmark moving forward. And as a shameless plug, if you're interested in learning more about the Prime Denmark Data Project. There's a QR code in the upper left corner there, but the URL is just head to primedatacenters.com and click on the Denmark Data Center link, and it'll take you there and provide good information. And stay tuned for a video that we're putting together that will actually take you through a walkthrough of the Sabey heat plant that Carsten and Trina have done such a spectacular job of putting together. So thank you all very much, and we wish you an excellent rest of the week.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.